the Spirit Journey, and it's December 11th, 2015, and it's 7:30 a.m. This is my second audio diary of the day, and morning. I was just thinking about the Bible character Abraham and how Abraham was given a message. He got an audible message. Modern day, they would call it mental telepathy. And this being spoke to Abraham of a plan. And the plan wasn't going to be carried overnight. This plan was to take generations. And the plan was that this particular piece of land, the land of Canaan, was going to be their headquarters. And then this voice tells Abraham that descendants of his would be in another land as slaves. And fast forward, a man named Moses was born a slave in Egypt. And what happened in Egypt, he was given all the privileges of a free person. He was taught all the wisdom of the royal family, but he still had connections with his real family. So he knew his identity. I do mention in an earlier video that I did that the possibilities of Moses being half royal family, that you never heard about who his biological father was. You heard about the mother, his brother and sister, but you never heard about his father. And as I mentioned in that prior video, that in slavery in the Americas, oftentimes you don't know who the father is. It's not documented. And that's because a lot of times that the father was the abuser. So I'm thinking with Moses, it might have been the same thing. Because there's no reason why they didn't get rid of him when they found him in the basket, in the water when he was a baby. But they did mention he was a special child, and I'm thinking that's a code name for mixed race. So, but because Moses did a no-no, because here he was an initiate of the arts of the Egyptians, he decides he wants to go renegade and start a rebellion, and he be the ruler. He gets found out, and Moses went into exile. So I was thinking, what this reminded me of, someone who hears a voice and has a desire to go to a place. This happened again in history, what with Moses. He's communicated with by someone that only he could see or hear. Then I started thinking about Columbus. Now, didn't Columbus too, Columbus also is of the seed of Abraham. And the year that he finds, so-called accidentally finds, the Americas was the year that um, the Jews of Spain and also the Arabs, called Moors, were forced out of that region. At least the Moors were at a slightly later date, I think. But definitely the Jewish people of that part of the land. So you have someone who's told something, and so even though Columbus was working on behalf of the crown, the Spanish crown, he still had an agenda. And then, like, I was thinking about World War II, what led up to World War II, that you had people behind the scenes who had an agenda also to fulfill the dream of Abraham. And by any means necessary. And come on, baby. By any means necessary. So things are taking place in Europe. A lot of souls were required for this attainment. You had genocide. You had not the UN, but you had like a federation of nations. Yeah, it could have been the UN that was formed. And the state of Israel was formed. So I'm wondering, that what is the agenda? Why was it so necessary for this piece of land to be theirs? Why is it so important that this headquarters be stationed where it is? As I mentioned that first it was Abraham and then there was a Moses, and both people had a plan, and they knew that it would take some time. Who would be considered a reincarnated, so to speak, Moses or Abraham? Who would that be? And it just came to me that the 20th century Moses or Abraham is Einstein, Albert Einstein. He was a world-renowned scientist. He had superior wisdom than the general population and even people in his field. How did he get this talent? They even thought that he might have been autistic when he was born. He didn't speak for a number of years as a child. So is there a connection? Is Albert Einstein a modern day Moses or Abraham? And it was by him, he was very instrumental, Einstein, he was very essential for the formation of the state of Israel. That here he was a man from Germany, he worked in the university, and then the anti-Semitism of the day got very, very heavy. So he left and came to the United States. But he made a bargain with the American government. He made an agreement. I'll work for you to develop this A-bomb, and if I give it to you, that you have to give me something back in return. And what was it? It was the promise for the state of Israel. So isn't that something? So all these things are by design, and it's not by accident. Moreover, not only is he essential, Einstein, for the formation of the state of Israel, but he is worshipped. What do you mean when you say that? Remember the movie, I think it was E.T., one of those movies, and you had that creature, had the big eyes and everything. Do you know who they modeled that creature after? Einstein. I remember when the movie was made, and then they were showing behind the scenes how the characters and were created, and how they made the pieces, and they needed to make a character. Um, they needed to make a character, and they didn't know who to make the character look like. They said, who has wise eyes? You know, who's intelligent? And they said, Einstein. Look at picture of Einstein and that creature. They wanted someone that's wise, and so he's almost godlike. And I've seen many programs over the media, and it's almost like godhood, the laws of relativity, that it's like a Bible. It's like the Word of God. And if you think outside of his theories, and if you're in academia, you can get fired. So this is how strong his philosophy or his science is revered. And any deviation of it, you'll be considered crazy. So again, it's just a correlation that I've noticed between the people of that bloodline, and how that deity and worship is still practiced today, but in a different form. They call it science, but science is a religion. This is more thoughts that I have regarding Albert Einstein. It just came to my memory that when Albert Einstein died, he had commissioned his brain to be taken out of his head and to be studied by scientists. Isn't that something? Now there's a science that's being developed. It's to combine man with machine and man with computer. And it's the latter that I'm really going to focus on with this. In fact, there were movies done on it. There was a movie with Johnny Depp in, when his mind got in a computer. I didn't go to see the movie, but I heard about it. I saw the previews on it. Now, And as we see, what was science fiction 70 years ago, 60 years ago, 50 years ago, it's now reality. So why was it so significant that they take Einstein's brain out? I think it was something more. Now, if Einstein is almost like a god to the modern day scientists, and they want him to continue on as a god, if they take his brain, they could later take his brain and put his mind in a computer. He's the god of science. That science of yesterday, or I should say science fiction of yesterday, is reality of today and possibly a monster for tomorrow. Take care, guys.